Hello and welcome. I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to meet with US President Donald Trump in Florida's Mar-a-Lago. Key topic of discussion will be Zelensky's 20-point proposal for peace between Russia and Ukraine. Dhaka police says the two primary suspects in Inqilab Moncho's Sharif Osman Hadi's killing have fled to India from Mymensingh to Meghalaya. Russian President Vladimir Putin warns of force if Ukraine rejects peace talks ahead of Trump-Zelensky meet. Putin says Kyiv lacks interest in peaceful conflict resolution. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says European Union troops in Ukraine would be legitimate targets for Russia. Lavrov, without providing any evidence, also accused European politicians of being driven by ambitions in their relations with Kyiv. Two of Nepal's most popular political leaders unite to forge a new alliance ahead of next year's election, a move that's likely to challenge the long-dominant traditional parties. The first phase of voting has begun in some 103 townships of Myanmar as the junta calls for a strictly regulated vote. Critics maintain that this is just a way of legitimizing junta rule. Polls open in Kosovo for a snap parliamentary election held nearly a year after a prolonged political deadlock prevented parties from forming a new government, leaving key reforms stalled and deepening uncertainty over the country's political direction. Hackers have forced gaming giant Ubisoft to shut down all servers of popular first-person shooter Rainbow Six Siege after a breach left millions of players with impossible amounts of in-game currency and exclusive skins. And viewers, let's start with the top focus here. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has praised US President Donald Trump for his efforts to advance a peace settlement in Ukraine. In an interview, Lavrov said that Russia remains committed to working with American negotiators to address the root causes of the conflict. He criticized Ukrainian President Zelensky and European leaders, saying that they are unwilling to engage in constructive talks while continuing to fund and arm Kyiv. Lavrov warned that Europe that attempts to attack Russia would face devastating consequences. On US-Russia relations, Lavrov noted that the updated US national security strategy no longer views Russia as an immediate threat and suggested this could signal a new approach to dialogue. I request Ben Ayres, who is a former Moscow bureau chief at the Daily Telegraph, to join me in this discussion. Thanks, Ben, for joining us here at NewsX World. Ben, what do you think has triggered or led to this statement from Lavrov? We're seeing, as far as the peace dialogue is concerned, at least Russia, or the US rather, favoring Russia more.
Well, today is a key meeting between Trump and Zelensky, where they're going to attempt to close a peace deal. And Zelensky's gone into this meeting this afternoon saying that 90% of the points are agreed, but there's some very difficult sticking points, namely security guarantees that Zelensky is seeking from the US and the European Union, and also the question of land. Putin is demanding that the armed forces of Ukraine quit Donbass completely. And what Lavrov is doing here is classic sort of pre-meeting, turning up the pressure, making it clear that Russia is not prepared to make many major concessions. And so he's turning the screws and coming out with this aggressive, belligerent talk. It makes it very fraught. This meeting is going to be extremely high tension because the gap they need to close is now much smaller than it was, but it remains significant. And Russia, Lavrov, basically are demanding that Zelensky make these key concessions that he's very reluctant to do.
All right. And how much of a push, in your opinion, is Zelensky going to get in the talks with Trump today?
He's going into these talks. He's made significant concessions repeatedly over the last week. That the idea, I mean, the key sticking point for him is that Russia's demand they want to take back the 15% of Donetsk, one of the two Donbass regions that they don't occupy, that the Russians don't occupy. And the poll last week in Kiev said that the 75% of Ukrainians are against giving up any unoccupied land. So that's a really difficult ask, but Putin's equally made it absolutely clear that that's the key concession that he's demanding from Kiev, and he's threatening if Zelensky doesn't give up that land, then the war will continue. And Ukraine is being smashed to pieces. I mean, just over the last 2 days, the missiles and drones have been raining down on Kiev. 500,000 people now in Kiev are without heat or light, just as the temperatures go below zero. So it's going to be very difficult. I think neither side, but particularly not Ukraine, can afford to continue this war. And he's got to face a really tough choice. Either he gives up this land, and then there's a possibility of a ceasefire, or he doesn't, and the war continues. And he's going to have to decide. And this is why the Russians are turning the screws, both militarily by bombing Kiev and also diplomatically with the comments from Lavrov. So it's a real sort of deal-maker day today, a crucial meeting.
All right, sure. Do stay on with me, Ben. There's some more information. Let's give that to our viewers. Now, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has also accused European countries of escalating tensions in the Middle East, claiming their actions are not aligned with regional stability. Lavrov argued that Europe's involvement is fueled by a desire to prevent stronger neighborly ties with the region. Highlighted that 2025's missile and bomb strikes were carried out on Iran's nuclear facilities by Israel with support from the US, despite these sites being protected by guarantees from the International Atomic Energy Agency. Russia condemned this aggression, calling it a violation of international norms. Lavrov also expressed grave concern over Israel's willingness to continue using force against Iran. All right, I have Shruti to join me in this discussion here. Shruti, thanks very much for joining us back this Sunday. But Shruti, Europe apparently adding fuel to the fire in the Middle East. That's what Lavrov is suggesting. What are his real concerns?
Well, I think Europe has bigger problems and bigger fish to fry in terms of Ukraine as of now. Although the snapback sanctions is what he's referencing to while trying to control Iran through political and sanctions and geopolitical pressure points in the name of nuclear program is what he's referencing to in this particular instance. Now, if we look at what Trump has said that they've set back the nuclear program of Iran by at least a decade, if not more. And what IAEA is, of course, unable to confirm the amount of damage or what is the level of the nuclear facilities or the nuclear enriched uranium in Iran. So we do not have a clear picture of where they exactly stand. But we do know that they took a lot of hits, and despite that, there is definitely a chance of trying to switch out the Islamic regime. Because if you look at what the 12-day war was called on by Israeli side was the rising lion. And that in itself is a reference to the flag of Iran, which was pre the Islamic Revolution. So they do feel that there is an element where the Western powers are trying to influence people who are not very happy with Iran to try and change out Ayatollah regime and have the Shah back in place. And the Shah was, of course, very friendly to USA and in fact was very friendly to Israel also. So there is a chance where they are trying to fuel dissent in the nation and try and ensure that the Ayatollah regime loses out on its political control of the nation, and the Shah is back in place and they can kind of maneuver the narrative of the Middle East through that.
All right, sure. Thanks, Shruti, for your explanation there for our viewers. But I request you once again to stay on with us. And moving ahead, viewers, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has held talks with his Qatari counterpart Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani over what Tehran describes as Israeli violations of ceasefire agreements in Lebanon and Gaza. According to a statement from Iran's foreign ministry, the two leaders spoke by phone, expressing deep concern over the situation and calling for increased international pressure on Israel to halt further escalation. The talks come as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu prepares to travel to Florida for meetings with Donald Trump in the US. Netanyahu is expected to seek Washington's backing for tougher military action against the Iran-backed Hezbollah group in Lebanon. Gaza is also expected to be high on the agenda, including discussions on moving beyond the current ceasefire and advancing the second phase of a Trump administration on plan for the territory's future. Qatar has played a key mediating role in past negotiations. And I request Ben to join us back for his opinion on this. Ben, how much do you think will be achieved in this meeting between Trump and Netanyahu? There's a lot to be discussed, including, the disarmament of Hamas, the removal of Hezbollah, and now the new question of Somaliland. How much of it can be achieved in this meeting between the two leaders, when there are also bilateral issues to be discussed?
It's a steep mountain to climb, isn't it? I mean, the tensions in the Middle East are incredibly fraught, particularly after Israel fought a war against Iran this summer, and now Iran is motivated now to rearm as fast as possible. You've even got Iranian parliamentarians calling for the creation of a nuclear weapon, because one of the ironies of the Ukraine war is it's shown that any nuclear-armed power, in this case Russia, is unattackable by the West. They just won't go there to risk a nuclear war. And at the same time, the States traditionally and continues to back Israel 100%, to the point where Israel has made itself a pariah with the attacks on Gaza, the horrific cost of life there, civilians. I think the number's up to like 50, 60,000 dead now. And yet the States can't back off. But Trump sees himself as a peacemaker, and he's cut this deal, Witkoff, his envoy in the Middle East, that's supposed to downplay tensions. So on the one hand, the States is committed to backing Israel, which has given carte blanche to Netanyahu to do what he likes, and he continues to follow extremely aggressive policies. He just last week suggested that he might restart attacks on Iran. And at the same time, Trump is trying to sell himself as a peacemaker, and made a big deal out of his Gaza deal. So I don't know how he's going to take these two contradictory points of views in order to wind down tensions, and at the same time to back Israel to the hilt. It's going to be very difficult.
All right, sure. Thanks, Ben, for your perspective there once again. And moving ahead, viewers, let's also tell you that Kosovo is holding its second parliamentary elections of 2025, with polls opening at 7 a.m. local time. Prime Minister Albin Kurti's self-determination movement is seeking a majority to break a year-long political deadlock and form a government. Despite winning the most votes in February, Kurti's party was unable to form a coalition, leading to the snap election. The political crisis has delayed crucial funding, including a $1 billion loan agreement from the European Union and World Bank. Meanwhile, opposition parties have criticized Kurti's handling of relations with the West and Kosovo's divided north. Voters are hoping for a government that can address youth immigration and improve living standards. All right, I request Shruti to join us back to explain the geopolitical scenario in Kosovo as it goes to poll. Do you think this time a coalition will be, forged, especially because the last time the very reason that snap elections happened because it was a failure of that?
Well, I certainly hope so. I'm sure the people of, people look forward to stability in the region. It'll impact not just the nation on its own. It will impact how the entire politics of the region flows. Uh, there are months of unsuccessful coalition talks that have gone behind this. And since a coalition, I hope the people vote one way or the other rather than have a fractured mandate again. And then again, we see unsuccessful coalition conversations. So let's hope the leaders find, people find their leader, and the stakes that are very high for Kuti and his rivals kind of flows in the right direction for the whole world.
Shruti, also explain to us some of the key challenges that are, that lie ahead for Kurti, given that he does come to power.
Well, there is a loan that has to be paid back to the, I believe, the European Union and the World Bank and all of the others. So failure to form a government is going to make the nation itself stand on an economic brink as such. And that is something that these people have to take into consideration. This is why there was repeated tries for coalitions despite the conversations not coming to fruition. So there is something very, very tangible that can impact the entire economy of the nation, which is I think a $1.2 billion, if I'm not wrong about the figure, something like that, is the loan that they have to kind of ratify around, and the loan agreements have to be signed, and that all of that is going to expire. So that is something they have to put into. That is a major challenge for the nation of Kosovo, and there are liberal economic policies. There is a problem with the nationalism, rising nationalism.
There's also the question of the northern region of Kosovo that is divided, Shruti. Do you think he will be able to come up with a solution to, fix these fissures?
I hope so. That's all I can say at the moment. I just hope he can mend it out so that the nation survives. As I've said, I want this to go forth as a long distance viewer of this particular set of politics. I hope so that he's able to mend the fissures, make the policies work, because the free economic markets, as I said, the economic policies, the economic, the amount of loan is enough to put a standstill to the nation. So that there is something that they need to fix, and fast.
All right, sure. We'll watch out how that poll ends and what results come up. But thank you, Shruti. And once again, I request you to stay on. Viewers, in some news from Bangladesh now, the police in Dhaka say that 2 suspects in the murder of political leader Sharif Osman Hadi have fled to India, triggering fresh tension between Delhi and Dhaka. The Dhaka Metropolitan Police confirmed that the suspects crossed into India through the Halua Ghat border in Bangladesh's Mymensingh district and entered the Indian state of Meghalaya with the help of local associates. Police named the suspects as Faisal Kareem and Masood and Alamgir Sheikh. Officials say the men were received by a local contact after crossing the border and were later driven to Tura city in Meghalaya. Bangladesh police claim Indian authorities have detained 2 individuals who allegedly helped the suspects escape. The Bangladesh government says it is working closely with India through normal and formal and informal channels to secure the suspect's arrest and extradition. Osman Hadi, a prominent political leader, died after masked gunmen shot him on December 12. His killing afterwards triggered massive protests, attacks on media and diplomatic offices as well. This is in fact coming just ahead of the election that are due in February. Bangladesh continues to face political turmoil once again right ahead of the election, and in the latest, the suspected killers of Sharif Osman Hadi, the leader of Inqilab Moncho, have allegedly they fled to India via the Mymensingh district through Indian state of Meghalaya with the help of local Indians. That's what at least the Bangladesh police is claiming so far. It is also saying that the police of the 2 countries are in touch as far as arresting the suspects is concerned. We'll get to more updates as and when we have those, viewers, but for now the situation in Bangladesh far from normal. All right, and I request Shruti to join me back in the discussion now. Shruti, has any statement to this effect also come from the Indian authorities? Because Bangladesh Dhaka police say that they are in touch with the Indian authorities, and they apparently have also held those who helped the suspects infiltrate to India.
Can I just have a review back? I joined a little later.
Or no? Yeah, sure. So the point that we're discussing is here, Shruti, how the Dhaka police is saying that the killers, suspected killers behind of Osman Hadi had fled to India, from Myanmar, staying via Meghalaya, and they have been held by the Indian authorities, or at least those who helped them infiltrate have been held. I just wanted to ask if you know anything more than this, and whether Indian authorities have made any such statement.
Well, what I do know is that whoever did kill did not stay in India, I believe. They moved on to Singapore, if I'm not wrong, from the whatever news bites that I'm also getting through of this. The Indian authorities are cooperating. The very fact that they are cooperating shows that we are not complicit in whatever political drama that is unfolding in Bangladesh as of now.
Yeah.
Who paid? Why did they pay? What was the political instigation behind it? It is completely an internal dynamics. From what I understand from my faraway point of view, from what Bangladesh suffers through, is the political vacuum created by the ouster of Hasina. And obviously there is the BNP have had to import an ousted leader to have a face for their party, and to counter the rise of Jamaati fundamentalist outlook, which is not very popular in Bangladesh, which is being made popular through these student leaders. So Hadi, I believe, was somewhere in the middle. He was not completely non-fundamentalist. He was anti-India, of course, but not completely. He would probably could have been honed with experience into a decent leader, as he would have understood the geopolitics of it beyond the emotions of it. And so Hadi was a threat to the Jamaati clan, and I believe that their leaders themselves have been saying on political platforms, in public forums also, that this is something that was instigated by the Jamaati clan under the consensus of Yunus and his regime.
In fact, isn't that also clear with the alliance that Inqilab Moncho is trying to forge with the BNP and also thus the Jamaat?
Yes, that is exactly what I'm trying to say. The Jamaat is the Jamaati leaders, they have, from what I know of, is that they have taken on all other smaller factions of fundamentalist leaders together. So they are trying to present a united front to BNP, because there is no Awami League as of now. And the NCP is of course there, but the BNP and the Inqilab Moncho are trying to find common grounds of interaction, and there will be, because BNP is not as pro-India as Awami League was, but it was not as anti also.
Right.
Towards the Indian authorities. We had a decent interaction with them as a nation. So when Osman Hadi's party aligns with BNP, and the leaders themselves are saying that this was a political assassination, not an international, as they would like to call it, raw kind of, Mossad or raw level action against a leader, rising leader. This is an internal dynamics that is a problem. The Indian authorities are cooperating. They are telling you, okay, they may have crossed over. Who has crossed over? We're going to look into it, and we'll help you find the killers. That has nothing to do with us. The killers are Bangladeshis, so they've been paid by somebody in Bangladesh, and they've gone to Singapore. So they should join the 2 and 2 and come up with their own number 5, rather than look towards India as a tricolored nation that has helped them free up the nation from Pakistani oppression, and look beyond whatever the political rhetoric of the moment that is popular in that region.
Right, and in fact that's also, strengthening the fact how Bangladeshis continue to infiltrate to India, whether or not they have killed others or not. India faces that very big challenge of Bangladeshi infiltration you know.
We have tunnels. We have tunnels that have been
Yeah.
built
Yes.
into homes that lead directly from Bangladesh into India. It is very difficult to plug every hole. Although we are trying, we've closed up of the 4,000 some kilometers. We've closed out about 3,800 odd kilometers. A small stretch is the only one that is left unfenced. But fencing only stops over the ground. How many holes, how many tunnels do we go through? Plus, there is an cross the border nexus that earns money through allowing people to infiltrate into India, getting them Indian identities, alternate Indian identities illegally, and then allowing them to be part of this residence. So India is cracking down majorly on that nexus, as well as trying to get these people out of their region, because it's not just Bangladeshis that come through. There are also Rohingyas that come through these nexus, and they create an internal security hazard for the nation. So India knows that we have a problem. If killers are allowed to go through, we know that there is a problem.
Users can update their address and automatically keep the old one as an alias. Email sent to the old address will still arrive in the inbox, and it can still be used to sign into Google services like Drive, Maps, and YouTube. According to Google's support page for India, the new feature appears first for Indian users, with a gradual global rollout expected soon. Users who can change their address won't be able to create another new Gmail address for 12 months, and the new address cannot be deleted. And that's all we have time for. Do keep watching NewsX World for all international news and updates.